And call the city council meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Moore,
Excused.
Present.
Whitman,
Excused.
Angeli,
Present.
Mining,
Excused.
Germani,
Present.
Present. I ask that all please rise for the invocation. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
guide our working together, give us wisdom to make the right decisions, your understanding to listen to each other, and your compassion to promote the peace and welfare of the residents of this community.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is approval of regular agenda.
Thank you. Regarding the approval of the regular agenda,
Your Honor,
Councilman Felder.
I would make a motion that we remove the following items from the agenda. Given the lack of sufficient voting members here tonight. In consent agenda, item 3350, 3354, 3363, 3356. In presentations, item 3362. And in council action, item 3358. And to approve the rest of the agenda.
I'll second.
There's a motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilwoman Germani, on the approval of the regular agenda, that the items that were identified be removed from the agenda for consideration this evening. Councilman Michelangelo?
Just a point of information for the public.
Yeah.
The reason why these are removed is because many of these are contracts and they require a 5 supermajority vote, and which we don't have tonight.
Exactly. So that's the reason why to put them on the agenda, they could not have been approved. So they require the not just a majority that is here this evening to be able to conduct business and do other business on the agenda, but those require 5 votes for passage. So thank you for the council members' motion second and clarification. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Angeli,
Yes,
Germani,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is the consent agenda, and for item B, approval of payments, the amount should read $1,381,848.12, 1381848.12.
Thank you. Regarding the consent agenda, the remaining items on the consent agenda, are there any of those items that council wishes to have pulled for further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, are the remaining items on the consent agenda? Any of those present here this evening wish to have pulled for further discussion? Seeing none, motion will be in order.
Your Honor,
Councilman Felder.
I would make a motion that all items on the consent agenda not previously removed be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, and resolutions adopted.
support.
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilman Michelangeli. The items that remain on the consent agenda be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, and resolutions adopted. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Angeli,
Yes,
Germani,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is under presentations, communications, and public hearings. Item 3361, correspondence submitted to be placed on record.
So I'm looking for that. Are you just making note of that? Does that require a motion from the council? I think you're stating that there's a correspondence submitted to be placed on the record as we move forward. Okay. Next item.
The next item is item 3351, public hearing for ordinance 21-011. Public hearing to receive and review comments on ordinance 21-011, an ordinance to amend chapter 22, boards, commissions, authorities, and committees to add article 12, board of review of the code of the city.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open the public hearing regarding item 3351, ordinance 21-001. Any comments from those present here this evening on this public hearing regarding ordinance 21-001 regarding board of review? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Clerk, next item.
The next item is item 3352, public hearing for ordinance 21-012 to receive and review comments on the ordinance to amend Chapter 22 Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees to add Article 14 Tree Advisory Commission. And there are no comments on file in the clerk treasurer's office.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open the public hearing on item 3352 regarding ordinance 21-012, the Tree Advisory Commission. Any comments from those present here this evening? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at this time. Clerk, next item, please.
Now we move to council action, and the first item is item 3340, proposed ordinance 21-011, up for consideration.
That's correct. Mr. Bastu, any follow-up, any information? I know we've discussed this at our work sessions, and it's come up before for readings.
Nothing more, Your Honor, other than just getting some of them. I'm sorry, nothing more, Your Honor, other than just the board of review, amending that to the composition of the membership, more so with the consideration for state-required training that now will take place.
Very good.
Your Honor, I'll move that we place ordinance 21-011, an ordinance to amend Chapter 22, the Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees, to add Article 12, Board of Review, to the Code of the City of Monroe, and place it on the floor for its final reading.
Motion by Councilman Igloo, supported by Councilwoman Germaini on item 3340, the proposed ordinance 21-011 as presented. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Echoangeli,
Yes.
Germaini,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
Ordinance 21-011, Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees, Article 12, Board of Review. An ordinance to amend Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees to add Article 12, Board of Review of the Code of the City of Monroe. The City of Monroe ordains.
Shall this ordinance pass?
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Echoangeli,
Yes.
Germaini,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is consideration of proposed ordinance 21-012.
I'll see Mr. Pass do anything further. I know, again, we've had these conversations at the work sessions and discussions with council.
Nothing more, Your Honor.
Very good.
Your Honor, I'll move that we place ordinance 21-012, amendment to Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees, Article 14, to add Tree Advisory Commission, and place it on the floor for its final reading.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Igloo, supported by Councilman Felder on item 3341, proposed ordinance 21-012 as presented. Clerk, please call the roll.
Felder,
Yes.
Echoangeli,
Yes.
Germaini,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
Ordinance 21-012, Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees, Article 14, Tree Advisory Commission. An ordinance to amend Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees to add Article 14, Tree Advisory Commission of the Code of the City of Monroe. The City of Monroe ordains.
Shall this ordinance pass?
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Echoangeli,
Yes.
Germaini,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is item 3364, consideration of proposed ordinance 21-013.
Mr. Pastu, probably some background information.
Thank you, Your Honor. We've had some discussion, starting with the work session related to responsible bidder ordinance. We've had an ad hoc committee comprised of Mayor Clark, council members Felder and Igloo, as well as city engineer Patrick Lewis and city attorney Buds and myself, looking at the structure of this ordinance as it pertains to pre-qualifications, as well as not only for primary contractors, but subs as well, setting some thresholds regarding the submittals associated with that pre-qualification and evaluation of a number of criteria related to the contractor and aspects of their operation.
So this item's here for the first reading and to set the public hearing, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'll move that proposed ordinance 21-013, an ordinance to amend section 114, 113 of chapter 114, purchasing and contracts of the city code be placed on the floor for its first reading and the public hearing be scheduled for December 6th, 2021.
By Councilman Michelangelo, supported by Councilwoman Germaine, on item 3364, proposed ordinance 21-013, that it be a first reading and a public hearing be scheduled for Monday, December 6, 2021. Clerk, please call the roll.
Felder?
Yes.
Michaelangeli? Yes. Germaine?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Ordinance 21-013, Chapter 114, Purchasing and Contracts. An ordinance to amend Section 114-13 of Chapter 114, Purchasing and Contracts of the Code of the City of Monroe.
Thank you. Next item, please.
The next item is item 3357, establish public hearing date for proposed PUD plan and design standards for the former Lazy Boy headquarters site.
Mr. Bastu?
Mr. Cochran, do the introduction for this item, Your Honor.
Mr. Cochran?
Honorable Mayor, City Council, Mark Cochran, Assistant to the City Manager and Economic Development Director. Last Tuesday at the Citizen Planning Commission, MKSK presented to the Planning Commission the complete PUD design standards for the Lazy Boy site, much in line with what was presented in the sub-area plan when it was originally established and adopted, goes much more into detail in terms of design standards and other fine details related to the overall development. And so we're bringing it forward. The Planning Commission did vote to recommend City Council approve the design standards as they were presented. And so the next step would be for City Council to hold a public hearing, which we're proposing for Monday, December 20th at 7:30, and lead the way for consideration for final adoption.
Questions for Mr. Cochran? From council? Yes.
Mark, was the Planning Commission all on board with the PUD standards?
Yeah, they had a few questions, particularly about whether Bentley Drive was going to extend all the way through the site. They had originally suggested that it not be vehicular traffic extending through Bentley, and so we cleared that up, that it would only be pedestrian access. The tabletop raised intersection at the corner of Holiday and Huber, there was discussion about what exactly that looks like. And then also a little bit of discussion based on the wetlands on the site and the process that we're moving through with permitting with Eagle. Other than that, they were excited to see the project taking its next step toward fruition.
Great.
Very good.
The, yes, thank you, Your Honor, if I may, the tabletop intersections, that's the same designs that we had that were on North Custer as an effort to reduce the speed of traffic. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a traffic calming mechanism so that when Huber eventually gets extended out to Greenfield and Stewart Road, that won't become a bypass bypass on Telegraph Road. But it's a traffic calming measure. It'll also be a three-way stop, so folks will be required to slow down in order to clear that tabletop. It may be more pronounced and defined than the one that's currently on North Dixie Highway as well, or
That's
North
exactly
Custer.
what my follow-up question was going to be, is the one on North Dixie was not altogether distinctive, if memory serves.
That's correct.
And so I just want to make sure that either it's going to be different or it's probably not worth doing.
Yeah, we were reviewing the plans for that today, actually.
Very good answer, Mark.
Thank you, sir.
That's a very good answer on that one.
I knew that was coming.
And it also provides that visibility from a long distance as you're approaching to see that elevation just gets more into your sight. It's about safety. And even with the intersection being signed, it still is appropriate to have the raised intersection.
There'll be pavement markings also, and also decorative concrete will be used rather than just gray concrete to give drivers a warning that it's a different type of intersection.
I guess maybe think about that. As we get through those processes and signing and items, because there's the commercial, retail, and then there's the residential, that's a cross point. So I'm assuming there'll be some residential signing, pedestrian, I should say, crossing.
Yep, and there's some signage detail that's included in the PUD standards as well. The other thing that went along with it was a PUD plan. I believe that we're breaking the site up into 9 different parcels, and the PUD plan does define what each parcel can be used for, whether it's residential, commercial, or mixed use as well for a couple of the parcels. So yeah, we're also looking at the sidewalk widths for the residential area versus the rest of the site, 8 foot versus a narrower 5 foot within the residential before it reaches out to the connected pedestrian paths for the rest of the site, which will be 8 feet wide in North Telegraph Road.
Well, since we're chatting about this, because it's been a while, we've had some of the conversation. I know many may be here that have heard it or those that are watching, but just a little bit of information on the design, at least what we're looking at on the greenway part of it in the Mason Run. I know it's designed for accommodating and others.
Yeah, right now we're working with Eagle to get the necessary permits related to the drain. Part of the building remains, the foundation of the building remains over the drain because we have to get some permits in order to continue with that demolition. But the sub area plan that was adopted by City Council 2-3 years ago at this point does show around Mason Run, it will be significant amount of green space, daylighting Mason Run drain with pedestrian pathways as well as other outdoor amenities like seating, outdoor eating areas, and other things within that area stretching from Telegraph Road east to the property line, which goes back to the railroad tracks, and then connecting all the way through the rest of the site as well as the adjacent residential existing neighborhood on Bentley and Huber Drive.
Thank you. I know that there's still a discussion ongoing there, but it's the amenities that I think the public's looking for and the opportunities it presents for a gathering place besides the commercial and retail and residential. Thank you.
Your Honor, I'll move that we schedule a public hearing for Monday, December 20th at 7:30 PM for the purpose of receiving public comment on the proposed PUD plan and design standards for the former Lazy Boy redevelopment site located at 1284 North Telegraph Road.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilman Michelangelo, supported by Councilman Germaini. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Michelangeli,
Yes.
Germaini,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
I have no other items, Your Honor.
So, council comments, it's November, but we're going to move to Councilman Felder. You'll be first up.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just briefly, I know that we're talking about intersections. Again, we'll be talking about infrastructure shortly here, I imagine. It is my opinion that the intersections on North Custer, particularly at the Riverside Manor neighborhood and at the Cranbrook Estate neighborhood, remain unfinished until we have some high visibility crossings installed there. And if that means consolidating the crosswalks therein so that we don't have to put two within close proximity, I'm happy having that discussion. But I think I know that Councilman Michelangeli brought up his hawk design of what he was discussing. It has been a continual source of concern for residents that live in those neighborhoods that have reached out to contact me regarding their fears having families cross those streets without any high visibility, especially at night, any high visibility flashers to assist in the crossing, especially now that we've removed the pedestrian safety islands. So I would like to continue to have that discussion as we consider what infrastructure improvements we're going to be making on our streets. Thanks.
Thank you. Just to follow up to that, because I'll just say it now because it relates to what your conversation was on North Custer there. The Trails Committee has had 2 meetings so far, and that particular item on the first meeting, there was some discussion with a commissioner on that regarding the visibility in intersections. So while they're looking at a broader sense, that ties also to that, how we get mobility across our community in a non-motorized fashion and a safe fashion. So it's nice to know that they've also looked at that as an item they want to have a discussion about as well.
Question, Your Honor. I can't recall, but I thought in our last CIP, we had allocated some money for hawk signals on North Custer.
I was thinking the same as well. I'll check and make sure that it's still in the CIP that was submitted.
I think we did.
I think we put a couple $100,000, to be honest with you.
Did.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I
All
recall
right.
that.
We'll follow back up on it.
And I think I was going to ask Mr. Pastor later, because we're looking at a follow-up session, and maybe I'll save my comments, but when that might be a date, and I think that's purpose for the next work session is about capital improvements.
Right.
I think, but I'll leave that to Mr. Pastor to talk about at his time as well. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Igloo.
Yeah, I happen to see Deb Steelgrave here in the audience, who is successful in her election for the 2nd Precinct, and I hope you enjoy your tenure on council for the next 2 years. And question for the city manager. You had mentioned in your memo that you were looking at the possibility of a special meeting on the 22nd to discuss CIP.
I haven't had any feedback yet at this point.
I think it's important based on all the projects and the ARP money.
Yes.
I know I'm available.
I'm available.
Okay.
So, well, you have 4 for a quorum for a discussion, but obviously we'll get our messages from the other 3 who unfortunately were not able to attend this evening.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I'll have Pat send out the other 2, but I will plan tentatively and I'll get the department heads ready to.
If it does happen, what is it, 6 o'clock?
Yeah, we can do it 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just, I'll put a hold on my calendar.
Yep.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
thank you. Councilwoman Germaini?
Thank you, Your Honor. Veterans Day was last Thursday. I want to thank the veterans for their service. And also, this Friday night is our tree lighting service, and I'm sure the mayor is going to elaborate on it more than I. But 5:30 starts the festivities downtown. 7 o'clock is the lighting. So a lot of things for the kids, games, all kinds of fun things. That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
Just a few comments for myself this evening. I'll start with the tree lighting, just to follow up. Thank you, Councilwoman, for mentioning that. It is Friday, November 19th, this Friday. The tree will be lit at 7. However, from 5:30 to 7:30, there'll be activities in Loringer Square downtown. And we have other partners that are participating. The Monroe County Museum will be open. The RCA will have activities and some items within their facility as well. As part of this, the Dorsch Library will also have a tent. There's 4 food trucks that, maybe 5, that have been, I'm looking at the clerk, I think there's 5 now. So items that'll be there, as well as MCOP is going to have activities for children. The carriage rides will be there and moving around the block. I should have brought my map so I can see everything. But one of the items, there's a lot of support and sponsors from the community, both corporate and individuals, as well as small business, to increase the decorations and large let items that will be displayed and debuted on Friday. Tied to that, the Downtown Monroe Business Network is having holiday activities as well. Following, there'll be events every Saturday. I should say that Santa, for the families who want to bring their children, will be at Run Hip. They're going to sponsoring that, just as it was 2 years ago. But afterwards, if by chance you aren't able to get through that with your children, they will the DMBN starting Small Business Saturday on November. That does not look like the right date. Hold on, I'll get it. 27th is starting. We'll have Santa coming back as well, and it's called Santa in an Igloo. It's kind of a house item that'll be on East Front Street. It'll be there every Saturday from 11 to 3 p.m., but also Thursday nights from 4 to 7 throughout the season. So the idea is, as we started this a couple years ago, was the tree lighting kind of starts the holiday season, but we continue each weekend. There'll be activities going on, and the museum put out their information today related to the items and the themes they have at the 12 Days at Christmas, and activities will be going on in the museum throughout the season. And the RRCA, of course, has put out their information, the activities from the Nutcracker as well as the Celtic Christmas. And so there's going to be much activities to go on through the downtown. I hope that everybody can have an opportunity to join us, and starting on Friday. So I think about, we've talked about COVID for so long and impacts it has on communities. And while there were a small number of businesses that were challenged to continue, I've shared this with a conversation the last couple of weeks with numerous people. We've had more businesses that have opened during that time, and of course through this year, than what were lost. So there's 2 or 3 that were just kind of had to move on. But we're probably at 9, 10, 11 businesses downtown small boutique new businesses, and there's a couple new ones, and it's still in the downtown district, though the DDA district does extend down South Monroe, and they've been open for a while, but Monroe Nutrition is there on South Monroe by 7th Street, and they're also having an event coming up on a Saturday here that they're advertising to help, sponsoring to help feed the hungry. New on West Front Street is Judy's Boutique, which is Elegance by E. Alicia there it's a salon, and it's a wonderful establishment in the way she partnered with other new businesses downtown, the Two French Hens, to help decorate and bring that business together. I could go on, the Conservatory, Misty's Fine Foods, and there's, even Brown Bag started shortly around COVID time. There's so many businesses downtown, and I hope everybody takes the opportunity. That way you come to the tree lighting, come early, walk around, see the businesses, stop in and see what the shops have, and hopefully come back during the holiday season and shop small business. Let's see, I have a couple other comments here. I want to talk about the agenda, and then I'm going to go to some introductions here. But when tonight's agenda was kind of unique, and the fact that we have 4 council members and not even the majority 5 for certain contracts, but that comes up periodically. I think it's one other time this happened for me. But that doesn't mean that these items aren't been discussed before and they'll be coming back up. It seems sometimes for those that are kind of new here this first meeting maybe is, how does he move through the agenda so well? Well, we have work sessions, and in previous meetings, in previous council meetings, we have conversations about that. Council has discussions, but they don't make decisions. Give direction to the administration and the city manager to come back with an agenda item, or the staff members, just as Mr. Cochran presented, as he kind of champions and leads that development of the former Lazy Boy site on Telegraph. And so when it comes through and make motions, it seems like, well, where's the discussion? It's been happening all along. And I think a great example of that is when Councilman Langely had the item, we talked about the planned unit development, the PUD plan. Mr. Cochran gave us information, updates about that. And as the motion was made, it was to set the public hearing on December 20th. So that'll come back for anybody in the public that wishes to make a comment and ask questions has the opportunity. Just as we had those on the agenda earlier tonight, there were no comments during the public hearing, but this opportunity is always there. So that'll come back if people think about that. So if you wonder, well, what is the whole plan unit development and what does that entail? I forget how many pages it is, but it's 20-some pages, if not longer. And you can find that on the city's website by going to the clerk's connection for the items on the agenda. And there's a fact sheet, and attached to that is the details. It has all the plans of all what's being designed and intended for the former Lazy Boy site on Telegraph Road. So I bring this as background, which gets me to my next point. We have students here tonight. And students don't get passed through the council here without getting some recognition. And I understand the students are from the middle college. Is that correct? So you get to stand up, please. And so since we have 4 here this evening, why don't you go ahead and introduce your name? You got to speak loud, though, so we can make sure the clerk's microphone can hear you.
My name is Patrick Johnson. My name is Joshua Sal. My name is Owen Wingate.
My name is Madison Krieger.
You have somebody with you.
Yeah. This is my dad.
That's good. So that's usually when we have students that come, and for a while there, the community college had programs. So you're here for a reason, because your middle college had an assignment for you this evening. What was the assignment? Whoever wants to speak.
It was a civil engagement, and we had to participate in some way, like a food drive or attending a political meeting.
So during the public comment time, you may, one or all, you may come forward with a question for us. Is that possible? Oh, that's wonderful. That's good to hear. We'll see if we can answer, at least give you direction. So are you all in the same year at the middle college? What year would that be?
2024, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple more. And let's see what else. There was something else I was going to ask you. But, well, I'll just say thank you for being here. And we'll look forward to your questions here later in the citizens' comment time, okay? All right, very good. Thanks for being here. I think I'm going to go through my notes here. Let's That's all the items that I have for this evening. Again, please come down on Friday for the tree lighting. It'll be a great activity. We have little giveaways as well. The 3D glasses, which the kids love, as well as lighted necklaces and little things to wear. And I guess there was something else because we're partnering, as we said, with the museum, county museum. They'll be having some of those items that we have. They're also having games and activities for children. I know that Lake Erie Transit is assisting in some transportation of students from Greenwood and supporter, I should say, sponsors or parents there. And the MCOP at the Arthur Leslie Community Center is also going to transport some students as well as chaperones downtown. The police and the fire department will be there, and they'll be handing out some of those items, giveaways as well. So please come down and enjoy the evening and hopefully stay for a while and see those other businesses. Clerk Treasurer Lavoy.
I didn't have any comments until the students stood up and they gave me a really great idea. If you have future assignments or you just want to be more involved, I would urge you to consider becoming election inspectors.
Yeah.
We've got a big election coming up in 22 and there'll be another big one in 24. So if you live in the city, you would talk to me. If you live in one of the townships, feel free to talk to your clerk. I'm sure he or she would be very happy to have you on board. So it's something you might want to think about. And you get paid too, so it's not bad. It's not a bad day's work. You get involved and you get a little bit of an income. So that's all. That's all I have.
Your class that you're all in again, I think you said that. Remind me again, what was the civics? Okay, thank you. Mr. Pastu.
Just the one item, Mr. Sull indicated we have 100,000 allocated for the North Custer Road crossings. So
As we have that upcoming session and we can finalize that, not only can we talk about upcoming, but we can see what we can do yet this year. Council Michelangeli?
One.
Yeah. Okay.
that's all I had, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Next is citizen comments. Any those that wish to speak this evening, just I always review the kind of the rules of the chamber, as it's called, and just the manner in which we conduct the business. If you wish to speak, just ask that you state your name, jurisdiction of residence. It doesn't need to be your specific address, so you can give that if you wish, but or where you reside. And also, the comments are directed to the chair, but we'll see if we can answer through the administration or ourselves. And you have 3 minutes to speak. Any comments from those present here this evening? I see that up. Okay, all right, why don't you come up first, sir, and then I'll go to the I see a wave, like, go ahead.
Good evening, you all. My name is Robert Kitson. I live at 450 Mason Run Boulevard. I've been here for the last couple months, as you all know. And based on what the mayor said tonight, so I should bring all this to the working group so we can get this on the agenda of the working group. So how do I get it on the working group's agenda? So the ordinance of parking and the Mason Run Boulevard subdivision debacle.
That's a good question. So the work session is items that come to the council for consideration.
Sure.
And then giving the information back to the administration. We don't make decisions at a work session because that's the intent and design.
Sure.
Those come to this meeting, as I think we
Yeah,
talked
no,
about.
I understand that, but I mean, how
But
do I
it
get it
gets
on
to
the
the-
agenda so we can start talking about it? And
So the city manager's probably got a place to start.
Your Honor, I'll just say, look, I'm kind of in many ways the gatekeeper to get
Sure.
it to the council. Sorry, get my microphone back on. I'm kind of the gatekeeper, and to be honest with you, we just have not had a chance to fit it in with some of the other topics that we've had. In fact, I was telling somebody today, a couple consultants, I told them I'm not avoiding you. It just have not in the last month or so had much time to.
I understand. We're all busy and I
but it's
know
on
you
our, just so you, for what it means, it's still on our list, something to bring up and discuss. So
okay. And then the last thing is my mother-in-law lives at 151 Mason Run, and the lights on Fontaine were damaged during the sidewalk repair. But they still have not been fixed. Do we know where that stands at being repaired?
I know Mr. Lewis actually had sent me something on it, so I'll follow up with that. For some reason, I was thinking it was addressed, but I'll follow up
It's still
tomorrow.
a dark street. So
Okay, all right.
all right, appreciate it. Thanks,
Yeah.
Council.
There's a, yes, in the back, please.
So Colby and City of Monroe, I use they, them pronouns. In honor of Transgender Awareness Week, I just wanted to give a few words about transgender people and how we exist in the world. There are many reasons it can be difficult to learn about transgender people. For one, talking about bodies and anatomy can be a taboo topic for many people to broach. Another reason is that despite transgender people existing since the dawn of time, we have not until recently developed a language to talk about our shared experience and our lived experience. Many people simply don't know any transgender people personally who are publicly out, and like with race and culture, transgender people are not a monolith, so we have complex lives and do not seek the same things in our gender expression or in our identity. In Latin, cis means on this side, and trans means on the other side. So cisgender could be described as people whose gender is on the same side as the sex that they were assigned at birth. Transgender then would be on the other side of the sex that was assigned at birth. So you're born as a baby, the doctor looks at your external organs and says, you're a boy, you're a girl, or you're intersex. But then if you're transgender, as your mind and body grow, you discover that perhaps the gender that society has assigned you doesn't fit who you really are. Gender and sex are different. Gender is the outward expression and the inward feeling of selfhood. Gender is also a performance in society. What makes you a man or a woman? Is it simply your reproductive organs? Or is it your chromosomes or your hormone levels? Is it because you like pink and your spouse likes blue? Or is it because your parents gave you a baby doll to play with when you were a kid? If you woke up tomorrow with different reproductive organs, would you throw up your hands and say, oh, I guess I'm going to live my life completely differently now? The expression of gender has also shifted throughout time. Red used to be considered a boy color, and girls was blue. In some cultures, women were the hunters and gatherers, while men watched the children. And in historical photos, you often see baby boys wearing dresses. Our society has long treated transgender and gender nonconforming people poorly. Biological cisgender women sometimes have beards, and biological cisgender men sometimes are very skinny or short. But our society claims that they're not real men or real women because of these physical deviations from our societal expectations. The pressure to fit all 7.9 billion people into only two neat little gender boxes or two types of bodies is absurd. Humans are extremely complex, beautiful creatures. Our imagination, creativity, and ingenuity know no bounds. So why should we continue the lie that there's only men and women, and that somehow our organs decide everything about us from when we were born? Like last year, I plan to hold an online vigil for transgender people who were taken before their time due to poverty or discrimination, suicide, or murder. This will be held on November 20th. It's Transgender Day of Remembrance at 7 p.m. We have a link to that event on the Good Trouble Monroe Facebook page. So thank you, and I hope that you'll take some time this week to learn a little bit more about transgender issues in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Cole. Other comments from those present here this evening? I know there's got to be at least one question from the group.
Hello, my name is Patrick Johnson. I live in Luna Pier. I was wondering if there was any plan in place to revitalize the downtown city of Monroe.
Well, they're looking at Mr. Pastu. I think I'll start. I think council members may have other comments. I see there's a member of the Downtown Development Authority here as well this evening. That's what I also serve on that. So the revitalization, I think is what you said, of the downtown Monroe. So I think over the years, what's come to learn from the Downtown Development Authority, which is a group of business owners, as well as the mayor sits on there, is learning what the middle word of that is, which is de-development. And I think while we've made improvements on things, there's always things to improve. I think as people that drive through Monroe and they come down Monroe Street, I'm going to give a little bit of opinion here. You stop at the traffic light because you're stopped for red, and you look over at a particular building that still is not developed and needs to be. And this council's had many conversations about that. In fact, our city attorney has had some actions regarding a couple of buildings I'll say from the direction of the council administration. And I also say, when you look at that, I say take a second and look around at the other locations. Sometimes it's what's not seen is what is developing around there. I started my conversations earlier, my comments about the downtown, and I could list many, many other businesses that aren't there and currently under development. There's one on West Front Street that's, well, Scallywags is there now, which is the pet service store, but it's next door to that. It used to be kind of an old town bar that's being rehabilitated. The Whistle Stop, if you know where that is, maybe you don't, it's there on West Front Street, right by across from where the KSC Hall is. That's an activity and really taking the initiative by the council and the DDA to obtain ownership of that for redevelopment. It takes a lot because there's always what's called brownfields. I don't know if you've got that yet in your class. It's where something needs to be mitigated or remediated because of the contamination. You gotta make sure it's safe if you're gonna start a business. And a person that wants to get in there just wants to make sandwiches and maybe make soup. And they don't wanna know how to deal with what needs to be mitigated on the property. That's where we stepped in as a city. The city currently owns it, and I could have Mark Cochran come and talk for an hour about that. But it's we've gone through the phase 1 and phase 2, which is making sure that can be, I'll just say, turned into a business. And there's once that was done and found out that it'd be kind of somewhat minimal, you find out that it's many people become interested. So there's a downtown plan. There's the city has plans. There's a downtown. I'll just say business plan. Councilman Michelangelo is going to have some comments too.
Yes, I just wanted to let you know that in 2018, the city council adopted a downtown Monroe master plan that's got a lot of recommendations in it. That is available on the city's website if you want to take a look at it. It's a pretty informative document.
Yeah, I'd tie that to, well, Councilman Felder sits on the Commission on the Environment, and you think about, the river and the accessibility there and what the future could hold and some of the great improvements that have been done, because if you have a clean river now that's open, the low-head dams are removed. That brings an interest in other people to the downtown as well. So I think Councilman Michelangelo's point's great. There's a master plan, really sets out where that's been. And the DDA at their last meeting has set, I don't remember the date exactly, it's coming up within a month or in December, January. We're going to revisit that plan as what's the next steps. Where are we at? What needs to continue? What needs to be, what's new? What's new and we should be looking at. So there is a plan, and I think I'll just stop there.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you for your question. Other comments or questions for those present? Oh, okay, I see a couple. We'll go with the young man here.
Hi, I'm Joshua Sell from Bedford Township. I'm asking, how do you decide what improvements get made in the city?
That's a great question. I think we had a little bit of that conversation, and both the council members talked about how do we make the improvements in some safe walking and some intersections and that. And we talked about the capital improvement projects. And that's you need to come back on the Monday night, the 22nd, if we set that meeting, because we're going to talk about capital improvements. And, what's the priorities? We have that currently. That's also available on the city's website with where you can find what we've done. We did 14 road projects this year, roads and parks, the parks project, the parks plans. Mr. Sell, it sounds like a familiar name, but I think hopefully you can get him back a week from now on Monday and listen to those. Councilman Michelangelo.
I was going to say that a lot of it has to do with what our finance director tells us how much money we have to spend. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Does he have any influence there?
He has a lot of influence on that. So.
No, I'm just kidding. Don't answer that question. I'm just joking. But it's a great question because we do take it very seriously. Sometimes it's tough decisions of, with the parks plan. We have many parks in the community, but as we move forward, there were 6 that we identified were the priorities. 1, because the finances are available. 2, probably the greatest need of an improvement. The Labor Park, which is attached to the Opportunity Center, it's in our Orchard East community, was finished here last year. We did the planning for the Father Carnes Park. that is on track for development here next year. And as council, I know we have raised that we want to see the plans for the next one next year. So we continue this process, get through the 6 of those, and we get through those, then we'll go on to the next one. So a lot of this is available. It takes a little bit on the net. It's not hard to find on the website. You can go there and see, and as the councilman said, and just look up the parks plan. You can see the priorities. But the capital improvements project about some development things, and we make decisions on other items, whether it be contracts, or unfortunately tonight we weren't able to do some of those and move them forward. They'll come back next week, but that is probably a good awareness for residents or those that are interested of seeing how we make those conversations in the work session to give direction at what comes back to us for decisions.
That's a good answer.
Mr. Pastor, do you have any?
The only thing I was going to add, though, is for some of the, what I would consider the traditional infrastructure, water, sewer, streets, say sidewalks, is actually, there's an assessment, asset evaluation that takes place, and that helps prioritize whether it's the road condition, the condition of the water main, sewer, that type of thing. Sometimes it's regulatory, environmental conditions change, so it's part of and then quality of life, more and more that's taken a far greater consideration as to the importance of the capital improvements programming as well as safety. The crossing that was talked earlier is a safety consideration. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. So, and then your dad has to tell us whether we can afford it or not.
Bring things to council meetings because sometimes I think is there going to be a question about this or that. Maybe it's something I read or something I heard. So I brought with me the street survey summary that we do, and the staff goes out and drives every street and gives it a rating because you think one is the next one. Oh, why isn't this street done? And when you go to the rating, you see these that are rated 9 to 9.9, which is the higher. That means they have the greater need. And then you go down to the average index as it goes down. And sometimes and that's also available on the website. You can go and see the street survey summary, and it'll say, well, I wonder where my street is, or I wonder why this is. And maybe part of it is, but the last part of it is better. So we try to logistically combine those projects together so it's a cost effectiveness as well. If you're doing one project here and you could do one right next to it, makes more sense than if it's an equally need that it's maybe toward the other side of the city. Well, logistically, we can get the contractor work on these. It's less staging, less costs. So that's a little factor when you kind of those break even of equally rated streets needed to be repaired. And it ties to what Mr. Pastou said with the infrastructure of water, sewer. We're not going to put the street in and then come back a year or two from now and take it out to put new sewers in or water lines. So we have our water and our water wastewater director and our engineer and DPS director work closely together. It's not a project that doesn't get done without that conversation and approval by the finance director. So had to throw there.
I just want to add a small note about the Citizens Planning Commission.
Yeah.
About all the departments and staff make requests to the Citizens Planning Commission to be put on the capital improvements budget. The CPC then reviews those and makes a recommendation to council. So you can see actually there's a 11 by 17 piece of paper, 1 or 2 pieces of paper that has about a 9-point font on it of all the projects that the city is going to do for its capital improvements project that year. And the CPC approves it, puts it forward to council, and you can see what the initial request was and what the actual allocation is. So, I mean, we're always going to have a larger wish list than our ability to fund is going to allow us to actually do. And so you can see what the priorities are, and then based on council policy and citizen input through the CPC, we decide what's important to the community and what our values are to prioritize what we're able to fund. So if you're interested in the capital improvements process, go to a CPC meeting.
Right, and it's a 5-year plan as well. So you can see what's being done this year, but you can look at revenue that may have been put aside or funded for the engineering component of it or the planning component of it. That's got to get done before you just don't go there and start driving down, tearing the street up and say, well, we'll get it done at the end. It takes these year analysis and process. And Councilman Felder's comment made me think about that, because you bring in boards and commissions, which are served by the residents of the city. Some of our boards allow non-residents. We just passed one of those, the tree. And our Trails Commission, we wanted a broader regional input. Majority are residents of the city, but we're getting other persons involved because we see the connectivity. So, volunteerism is the heart and soul, I believe, of a community like Monroe and others, is that input from the residents and opportunity to be part of the process that is the decision-making process to bring it to us is a great example that Councilman Felder said. So we're always looking for people to willingness to serve on boards and commissions. So
The exciting world of municipal finance.
yeah, exactly. Thank you for your question. We kind of gave you a little bit more probably.
All right, thank you.
Sir?
Honorable Mayor, City Council, Devin Rucker, City of Monroe. There's a lot of awesome things happening the past couple of weeks I just wanted to comment on. The Fright Night Boxing, special shout out to Derek Miller and Matt Nislyak as they kept their undefeated streak alive. That was really cool to see. There had to be at least 250 to 300 people at the Opportunity Center just to see that rocking and rolling. That was really cool as well with the amateur fights. Obviously, a lot of training goes into it, and then the Super Bowl comes. So to see the Joe's boxers get wins, that was really, really cool. The Project Homeless Connect, that was really cool. That was my first time being there and seeing all the resources. I know Councilwoman Durrani, you were there. That was another awesome event. Girlfriend's Night Out. That was really cool. The lights were all going, and to see people in and off of the streets and the shopping, that was another one. And then just picking up with, you said, Mayor Clark, the We Feed the City at Monroe Nutrition. That's going to be November 18th at 5 o'clock. They're also going to do like a clothing swap. So anybody that needs resources, hats off to Jeff Copey, that's the owner, and his whole team for putting together that project. Just a lot of cool things happening in the city. Yeah, and that's all I have tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your comments. I'll just follow up because it ties to what the students were just asking. And when you talk about activities that come forward, the Opportunity Center at the ALCC and the box night. Monroe has a long history of successful boxers, but also programming is more than just boxing. It's about mentoring youth and life skills and life understanding. But there's also on our website the future plans for the Opportunity Center, which includes the library, the Narvar Library, boxing component, and the Learning Bank, which is currently nearby as well, and how we combine those with how we improve not only our community, but the youth and learning, education, and opportunity for life skills, and including the boxing program that's here in our community. Other comments from those present here this evening? Yes, sir. Name, address, and jurisdiction, please.
Owen Wingate, City of Temperance. I'm sure you deal with a lot on your day-to-day. What would you say currently is the biggest issue you're dealing with?
Wow. Today, I can't discuss that in our closed session. There's always topics there. I think a lot of what we said is really how do we make our Monroe the best it can be, and how do we get people to be involved, and how do we make our community a sense of place? And then we've talked about that a lot with the council. We talk about it with other things that we're involved in, whether it be our professions, our association with our SEMCOG, or even the Michigan Municipal League. But it's hard. There's so many categories. It could be a financial component. I'd probably give you one answer. The downtown that was brought up and the importance of that. The days of the downtown, and many have been here. I've been here 30 some years, but have been longer. And they say, well, when's Penny's or when's this coming back downtown? Well, they're not. They have a different business model. Today is about boutiques and small business and shops and walking and making it a place to be. Housing is another topic we've talked about significantly here. How do we make affordable housing? How do we transition from the high percentage of rental properties to more home ownership? How do we get people into that? Those are life items for some people in our community. How do we make sure we're tending to them, as well as our parks plan, or our downtown, or our business quarter on Telegraph that Mark Cochran talked about on the redevelopment. I guess I don't have one thing other than it's a matter of putting it all together, that it's interconnected, and we make our community the best it can be for our residents and the visitors that are here. And I didn't even talk about tourism and the national park and what that brings and the opportunities that is. So it's a really, how do we make the synergy for all and comfortable for all to be here to live and want to work and want to have recreation here. And we hear about the importance of diversity and inclusion. We had comments this evening. We have to look at everybody and make sure that we make our accommodations for all to be wanted to be here and work and live together. I'll just leave it at that. Maybe council members have another comment. It's hard to say the one thing because it is a multitude of how we all work together. It's quiet.
I'm good.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you for your time. Thanks for being here too. I may be calling your civics. Who's your civics professor or instructor? Pardon me? Michael Miller. Okay. Not for a good reason, not for bad reason. So, I don't know if other council members or others received. I've talked to some other township supervisor who received emails from the middle college in the class and had some questions. I sent a couple answers back. I haven't heard back yet, so I'm hoping it was beneficial to those that might have written. It was about roads and things. So, other comments from those present here this evening? Yes, please.
Madison Krieger, City of Monroe. I was just wondering, how would you plan on getting more people civically engaged with the council and other projects for Monroe?
So one way, and you'll hear myself, but other council members, and Clerk Treasurer LaVoy said it today, when she sees young people and all, not just young, but all people that have an interest, she shares the opportunity how to be involved with the clerk treasurers. Elections are critically important. We saw an increase of a number of people that voted this last election in our city election, but also, and that's a plus. But she also recognized that takes it takes support. The staff alone can't do that, and without volunteers to be election inspectors or to work the polls and do that in a obviously in the right fashion, that it's not only safe, but it's people are comfortable and know that their vote is counting. There's so much message. The clerk treasurer can speak to that, but the point is, she says, we're looking for people that want to do that. I bring it up. I know council members do, boards and commissions and citizen service. I think citizen service is important, just as volunteerism is. So I think that's something, and then find what that niche may be, whether it's a commission on the environment that serves with Councilman Felder, Councilwoman Germaini, who serves on the housing commission. Councilman Michelangelo and I serve on a couple of boards, but also the Recreation Commission. There's so many availability, our boards and commissions or committees available. We want the residents' input. And then when we have a public hearing or we have a discussion about a project like the Lazy Boy or the Parks Plan, we had work sessions here. We had things in the hallway. We wanted people come in and say, I like this, but I really don't think I like this. And we try to get all that collectively so we make our community better as a whole. So now probably going more on what you might have asked, Councilman Michelangelo?
Yeah, I'll give you some comments. With the decline in newspapers, less people are informed about what's going on in their local government. They rely on social media, which sometimes, my opinion is most of the time, doesn't really carry the correct story. So in today's world, people really only get involved in local government when they have a problem. A lot of communities, Monroe is an example, we've extended the opportunities. We've had surveys done. We have public hearings. We have special community engagement sessions on projects. And we rarely get anywhere near maybe 30. I'd be surprised if we had 40 people that participated. And that's just how local government is in today's world. People only really get engaged when they feel that their enjoyment of their property is going to be jeopardized. And then they'll come to a meeting. Or if they have a very strong opinion on a certain topic, then we may have 15 or 20 people that show up at a council meeting. But in today's world, it's very hard to communicate with people because there's so many different venues to communicate. 20 years ago, everything that the council did would be in the front page or the second page of the Monroe Evening News, as well as all of our public hearing notices. But today, a lot of those stories aren't carried, so many people don't know really what's going on. Even though the city has a social page with Facebook and we have a Twitter account, we just don't seem to be able to connect that much with the residents relative to really what's going on. So people say, well, we have access to all kinds of media, but the reverse has happened over the years. It's less involvement because people just don't have a singular source where to get the data and the information from.
And then
I hope that makes sense.
I guess I'll follow up, and then of course, then it's how does a person kind of maneuver through the information that's being provided? Where's the fact check to it? Is it factual, or is it just something that gets out there, it's posted, and then starts to be collected to be the voice that gets said at the next meeting, the next lunch table, the next coffee item, and then is it even factual, and is it because we're getting information sometimes that is, I'm not saying it's not factual, it's just not complete. You can always build the story around what you want it to be, but there's also the other half of that's all credible. But how does that work together? And Councilman Michelangelo talks about newspaper. I read newspaper, and I also read books. I also have look at social media and different items. But how do we get all of that to everybody when we have I'll just say generations such as yourselves are probably much more in tune to I'll say the social media or apps and things where maybe some of our residents aren't. But we can't just transition everything there and leave behind those that maybe are still in a majority of reading more traditional methods of information. So it's really how do you blend all that? And I think Councilman Michelangelo's right on point is how do we make sure we get that in the best fashion we can, and then hopefully relying on the people to say, I'm interested in that. I can think of those that are sitting there, I can see a few, and those sitting up here served on boards and commissions before ever becoming elected. And I think there's a pathway to get a little more foundation on some things. And then I want to be a decision maker, but I want to understand what I'm making a decision on too. So there's many opportunities. I just always ask people, if you think you have an interest in it, easy to say, go to the website. There's a form there for boards and commissions. The lists are there. Or you simply come and see myself or anybody and say, I think I might be interested in it. What do I have to do? I provide information. I send it, and I try to make sure that I think that they understand what it is, and then the service they can provide by having a voice in government. And something else they say is if you just leave it to the elected officials, sometimes at the end you may not like it, and it's only more so because you didn't take the opportunity to have the input and try to change the message. So I'll leave it at that.
All right.
Thanks for your time. I'm glad that glad to see the middle college students, and this may be the most questions we receive from the students that arrive, and I'm glad to see that. I appreciate it. Other comments from those present here this evening? Seeing no further comments.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Michelangelo, supported by Councilman Felder to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder?
Yes.
Michelangelo?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Germaine? Yes. Mayor Clark?
Yes. And thank you all for being here.